morning to you all. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Am I audible to you? Someone please respond. Anurag, am I audible? Okay. Okay. Please tell others to join fast. Please tell others to join fast, okay? So I'll be sharing my screen now. So can you see the screen? Hello, can you see the screen? Okay, Akash, okay. Okay, Punya. So, where did we stop last class? Where did we stop last class? Anyone? Where did we stop last class? What is the main heading that you had written? Yes, very good, Agarsh. Rule of CP, isn't it? We were going to study, we had started method of proof. Okay, method of proof. And we are going to study two proofs, out of which the first one is applying the rule CP. Okay, we have to study two proof methods, out of which the first one is the rule CP. So, I think you had written that rule also. That is, what is that rule? What is rule CP? What is the expansion of CP? What is the expansion of CP? Rule of conditional proof. Okay, expansion is rule of conditional proof. So, how are we going to, what is this rule? Yes, Nihar gets conditional proof. So, how are you going to apply this rule? What does this rule say? This rule says that if the conclusion is of the form, if the conclusion is of the form R implies S, then you can take R and add it to the set of premises as an additional premise. You can add R to the given set of premises as an additional premise, and then you have to conclude C, that is, add R to the set of given premises, and finally, along with the given set of premises and this additional premise R, you have to reach the conclusion, that is, you have to reach S. That is called rule CP. Okay, and I think we had done one question, and did we complete that question? Did we complete that question? Determine the validity of the arguments using rule CP. Did we complete that question? No. So, let us solve it, okay? So, the premises given were P implies Q implies S. Then, we had, the next premise was not R or P. And the last premise was Q. So we three premises were given: P1, P2, and P3. Okay, and you were asked to prove R implies S. Prove R implies S. Isn't it? This was a question. So, in using rule CP, what we have to do is you have to check what you have to prove. And if the statement to be proved includes implication, then according to rule CP, we can add R to the set of given premises. So, you get another premise here, P4, which is an additional premise R. And then you have to conclude S. So this is what you have to do using rule CP. If you want to prove R implies S, take R as an additional primitive, add it to the set of, this is the set of given premises, add P as an additional premise. So this R becomes an additional premise. Okay, add it to the set of additional, to the set of given premises as an additional premise, and you have to conclude S. Okay, is it clear? So let us solve this one. So whenever you are going to solve, you have to give the heading, steps, and the next column is reason. So write it down along with me, okay? You have to take the first column, you have to write the steps, and second you have to write the reason. Okay, so the first one, first step, I'm going to take R, the additional premise that I had added to the given set of premises. So the reason is it is the additional premise. It is the additional premise that I had added, and this premise comes from rule CP. Rule CP says that you can add R to the given set of premises. Okay, 1 minute. സാർ എനിക്കിപ്പോൾ ക്ലാസ് നടക്കുന്നു സാർ എനിക്ക് മനസ്സിലായി പക്ഷെ 5th അവർ ഉച്ചയ്ക്കെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിരുന്നു ഇപ്പോഴാണ് ആ ക്ലാസ് ഓൺലൈനിൽ ആ ഞാൻ 5th അവർ ആക്ച്വലി ഉച്ചയ്ക്കാന്ന് വിചാരിച്ചത് ഞാൻ ഓൺലൈനിൽ അത് രാവിലെയാണ് ശരി ശരി So that was the first step. Then in the second step, so hope you understood the first step. Then second step is I'm going to take premise 2, and premise 2 is not R or P, and that is premise 2. The reason is it is premise 2. So any premise can be taken in any step, and what is that rule? What do you call that rule? Which rule is that? We had studied 2 basic rules earlier, out of which one rule says that any premise can be introduced in any step during the derivation process. And what do you call that rule? What do you call that rule? Very good, Agarsh. Rule P. Very good. Taking any rule in any step is based on rule P. That is the 2 basic rule. We had 2 basic rule, rule P and rule T. And rule P says that any premise can be introduced in any step. Now, third one. Third step, I'm going to derive something from these 2 steps. What can you do? What can you derive from these 2 steps? What can you derive from step 1 and 2? Which rule can be applied to step 1 and 2? Anyone? Which rule can you apply to step 1 and 2? See here, this shows disjunction. Okay, so you had studied a rule called disjunctive syllogism. Just go through that rule, disjunctive syllogism. Okay, disjunctive syllogism. Out of the 12 rules we have covered earlier, and one of the rule is disjunctive syllogism. That is the 5th rule is disjunctive syllogism. And according to disjunctive syllogism, according to this rule, it says that P or Q, and if you have another premise as not P, then you can conclude Q. This is disjunctive syllogism. That is, it is based on disjunction. That is, if you have a premise of the form P or Q and another premise of the form not P, then you can conclude Q. Okay, is it clear? So this is disjunctive syllogism. So here the P is not R. This is P, this is Q. So we have P or Q. And when we take not P here is, not P means not of, not R, and that gives you R. So step 1 you have R, and step 2 you have not R or P. Okay, so according to disjunctive syllogism, P or Q and not P implies Q. P or Q and not P implies Q. Here in step 2 we have one premise of the form P or Q. So P here is not R. Q here is P. Okay, Q is P and P is not R. And the next premise should be not P. So you have to take note of this thing. That is, your P is not R. So not of P means not of, this is P. So not P means not of not R, and that gives you R. So R is there in our first step also. So we can conclude from step 1 and 2, we can apply disjunctive syllogism, and we can reach the conclusion Q. So here the conclusion Q is P. So in step 3 you will get P. Okay. Is it clear? So your step 3 in so step 1 was R, step 2 you took not R or P, and third step from step 1 and 2, applying law of syllogism, you got 3. That is 1 comma 2. The reason is 1 comma 2 and this applying the rule of disjunctive syllogism. I hope you had written the above 2 steps. This R is the additional premise. R is the additional premise, and not R or P is this premise 2. Premise 2, according to rule P, we had taken the premise 2, and this is the additional premise according to rule CP. Okay, then the fourth step. Now I'm going to take the premise 1, that is P implies Q implies S. P implies Q implies S, and that is the reason is it is premise 1. Now in fifth step, so I had taken I took first 2 premises. I had applied the law of disjunctive syllogism. I got P. Now I'm taking the the first premise given in the question. P implies Q implies S, and now which rule can I apply here? Which rule can I apply here? Which rule can I apply to step 4 to get step 4 to the previous steps to get step 5? We have P here, and P implies Q implies S, and this is of the form. What is this form? Step 3 and 4. Step 3 comma 4, and which rule can you apply to 3 and 4? Which rule can you apply? Anyone? Which rule can you apply to step 4 and 3? Step 4 and 3, okay, write it as 4 and 3. Step 4, first you have to write 4, then you have to write 3. So, which rule can you apply to step 4 and 3? Is it syllogism, Niharika? No. It is modus ponens. Modus ponens, that is, it is of the form P implies Q, P. So, conclusion is Q. Here, instead of Q, you have Q implies S, and we have P as common here. So P implies Q and P, you will get the conclusion Q. So this here Q is Q implies S. Then in sixth step, we have premise 3 given, that is Q. Okay, this is premise 3 that is already given, premise 3. Then in the seventh step, what will you do? You have Q implies S and Q. What is the, which rule can you apply here? Taking step 5 and 6, which rule can you apply? And rule of, or which rule? This is of the same form again. It is again of the modus ponens form. P implies Q, P form. Isn't it? Instead of P, we have Q here. P implies Q and P form. It is of this form again. Instead of P here we have Q. Okay, instead of P here you have Q, and instead of Q you have S. So applying mod exponents, you will get S in the seventh. P implies Q and Q will give you Q. And instead of Q here you have S. Then eighth step. You had started from R and you have reached S. So that is what we need to conclude, isn't it? S is your conclusion. We had written earlier, S is our conclusion. So we have reached S. So from R, we had reached S, isn't it? So from 1 and 7 and applying rule CP, we had reached the conclusion S in the seventh step. So, is it clear? So these premises that is given are valid premises. Okay. Is it clear? We have to, the question was to determine the validity. If we could reach the conclusion S, then we can say that this the given set of premises are valid arguments. Okay, so the validity of arguments has been proved. The validity the given statements or the given premises are valid arguments. Okay. Then, any doubt? Any doubt in that? So our first method of proof was using rule CP, isn't it? Rule of conditional proof or rule CP. Now we are going to the second method of proof. The second method of proof, it is called indirect method of proof. The second method of proof is called indirect method of proof, or you can call it as proof by contradiction. Proof by contradiction. It is often named, we often call it as proof by contradiction. Instead of indirect method of proof, we call it as proof by contradiction. So the question will be prove using proof by contradiction, or it can be like prove using indirect method of proof. The question will be given to you whether to use rule CP or to use whether the indirect method of proof or the rule of proof by contradiction. So let us see what this is. So again here also we have a given set of arguments P1, P2, P3, etc. Pn will be given to you and you will be given a conclusion C. Okay. Always in the method of proving the validity of arguments, you will be given a set of premises and a conclusion C. We have to show that if the arguments are valid, then P1 and P2 and P3, etc., Pn implies C is true. Okay, if it is a valid argument. So now here we have the conclusion C, and according to the rule of indirect method of proof or proof by contradiction, if you want to prove the validity of these arguments, what we have to do is assume that C is false. Assume that C is false. When we assume C is false, C changes to not C, isn't it? C is true, so we are assuming that C is false. So C changes to not C, and then add not C to the given set of premises. You have P1, P2, etc. Pn. You have to add not C to the given set of premises. Okay. Assume that C is false and add C to the set of given premises. So, if the new set of premises leads to a contradiction, that is, along with P1, P2, etc. Pn, we have another premise added C. And if this leads to a contradiction means false. Okay, if this leads to a contradiction, then we can say that what we had, the conclusion C is true. That is, we had added not C. And if this leads to false, if not C leads to false, then C is true. The opposite is true. Okay. Is it clear? Is it clear? We are given a set of premises P1 to Pn, and if we want to conclude C, what you have to do is to give to the given set of premises, add not C. Not C is added to the given set of premises, and you have to prove from these premises. You can start with any premise, and from these premises, step by step, using step by step procedure and the 10 rules of conditional proof, you have to reach the conclusion F. That is, you have to prove that not C, which you had added to this, is false, which means C is true. If not C is false, then C is true. Okay. Is it clear? So write this heading. I'll dictate the notes now. Write the heading as indirect method of proof or proof by contradiction. Second method, indirect method of proof. Indirect method of proof or proof by contradiction. Proof by contradiction. So under that you can write given a set of premises, given a set of premises, given a set of premises, P1, P2, etc., Pn, and a conclusion C, and a conclusion C, comma, include not C as an additional premise. Include not C as an additional premise. Include not C as an additional premise. And prove that the new set of premises, leads to a contradiction. And contradiction means false. Okay. This is the basic rule. Okay. Given P1, P2, etc., Pn and a conclusion C, include not C as an additional premise. And then you have to prove that the new set of premises, that is P1, P2, Pn along with not C, is the new set of premises. This will lead to a contradiction. Contradiction means this will lead to false. Okay. Is it clear? Is it clear to you? Did you write it down? Did you write it down? Hello? Anyone please respond? Did you write the second method? Hello? Okay, so please write it down. I'll be checking your book tomorrow. So now let us solve one problem based on this. Okay. Now write down the question. Example. Use indirect method or proof by contradiction. Use indirect method or proof by contradiction. Proof by contradiction. Indirect method, or you can use the term proof by contradiction. To show that not P logically follows from the premises. Not P logically follows from the premises. Not P logically follows from the premises. And below that, you put a colon and then write the premises. Because the given premises are R implies not Q, R or S implies not Q, and P implies Q. Okay, so these are the given set of premises. R implies not Q, R or S implies not Q, and P implies Q are the given set of premises. This is P1, P2, P3, and P4. You are given 4 premises, and you have to prove not P. Okay, can you apply the rule CP here? Can you apply the rule? This is a conclusion. Okay, can you apply the rule CP here? Is it possible to apply rule CP to this question? Can anyone answer? Isha, can you apply rule CP here? Hello. Is it possible to apply rule CP? Anurag. No. Why trifle? You say no. What is the reason? You cannot apply the rule CP. Why? Give reason.
Conclusion is of the form R implies S.
Why can't you apply rule CP here?
R implies S എന്ന ഫോമിലേക്കുള്ള കൺക്ലൂഷൻ റൂൾ ഓഫ് കണ്ടീഷനിലാകുമ്പോൾ
One minute, I can't hear you. So did you say anything? Why can't you apply the rule CP here? Why can't you apply the rule CP here? Is it possible to apply rule CP title?
ഹലോ മാം
Okay. See your answer. I didn't hear you before.
റൂൾ ഓഫ് സി പി അനുസരിച്ച് കൺക്ലൂഷൻ ആർ ഇംപ്ലൈസ് എസ് ആയിരിക്കണം.
Oh, okay. The conclusion should be R implies S. But this given question, it is not R implies S, isn't it? The conclusion is only not CP. There is no implication here. So you cannot apply rule CP here. So we can use proof by contradiction. Yes, Isha also told the answer, I think. Okay. So just respond when I call you. Just you can unmute and answer. Okay. So time is not getting wasted. Time is getting wasted when I'm waiting for your reply. So now I have to prove this. So we have 4 premises, and we can apply only the proof of contradiction now. So to apply this proof of contradiction, what does that rule say? What does that method say? To prove not P, or to prove this conclusion, I have to negate the conclusion first. First step is to negate the conclusion. When negate conclusion, when you negate conclusion, this is our conclusion. Our conclusion is not P. When we negate conclusion, you get not of not P. So what is not of not P? And that is P. So I have one additional premise P now. I have to set it as the 5th premise added to the given set of premise P1, P2, P4, P3, etc. P4. I have added the new premise P5, which I had obtained by negating the conclusion. My conclusion was not P, and to prove this, the method says that, the rule says that you have to negate the conclusion. And this is the conclusion. Negating the conclusion, I will get not of not P, and that is P. Add this to the given set of premises as an additional premise. Okay, this is the first step which you have to do when you are applying the proof by contradiction. Now you have 5 premises. Now from these premises, what we have to prove that using by applying the step-by-step procedure, we have to reach the conclusion. The last step should be F. Okay, you have to reach the contradiction. A contradiction means F. If you reach a contradiction F, then it means that this not, the negation that you had taken is false, which means not P is true. Okay, the conclusion, initially you had negated the conclusion and after negation you got false. You are proving that it is false, which means if you reach false, then you can say that this not P, not C is false, so C is true. So what is given? The C is here, not P is true. Okay, this is the method of proof. So can anyone explain what this method is? Can anyone explain? Those who understood, can anyone unmute and answer what we are going to do in this method? What are we going to do? Come on fast. Those who understood, you can say. What is the first step? What you should do? Given set of premises. Here P1, P2, P3, P4, 4 premises are given. And you have to prove one conclusion. What is this procedure? What is the general procedure? What should you do first? To apply this rule, you have to negate the conclusion and add this as an additional premise. Negate the conclusion and add it as an additional premise. And from these premises, using step-by-step procedure, you have to reach the conclusion F. If you reach the conclusion F, then if any one is false, then you get the conclusion as false. If this is false, then we can say that the premise that we had added is false. That is, not C is false. If not C is false, then C is true. Okay, the conclusion C is true. This is the procedure for applying the indirect method of proof or proof by contradiction. This false is known as contradiction. Okay. Is it clear? Then, so how will we solve this question? We are given 4 arguments and we have to add an additional argument. Which is the additional argument that you add? The additional argument added is you have to prove not P. So take the negation of not P, you will get P. So you have to add P to the set of premises, that's the 5th premise, and then use the step-by-step procedure. Okay. So now the solution, write the solution. Solution. The arguments are as follows. The arguments are as follows. The arguments are as follows. What are the given arguments or the given statements? R implies not Q, R or S implies not Q, P implies Q. So this is a question given and from there you have to prove not P. So next slide, using indirect method, add not of not P. Here this is the conclusion, isn't it? So negate the conclusion. Not of conclusion is not of not P, which is equivalent to P as an additional premise. Add it as an additional premise and prove a contradiction. Add it as an additional premise and prove a contradiction. So write this much. Write the question first. What is given is this thing, isn't it? We have to prove not P. Then using indirect method, add the conclusion, negation of conclusion, not of not P, equivalent to P to the given set of premises and prove that it is a contradiction. Now you go for the step and reason. Hope you are writing along with me. First step, I am going to take the additional premise that I had added, and that is P, isn't it? That is the additional premise. Additional premise using the indirect method. According to indirect method, I had got an additional premise and that is taken as the first step. Then second step, I'm going to take the fourth premise, P implies Q. So which rule can you apply here to step 1 and 2? Step 1, comma 2, and which rule can you apply here? Which rule can you apply there? Come on, someone fast. P implies Q and P. Which rule can you apply here? Nobody knows? Modus ponens. Okay. If you apply modus ponens, P and P implies Q, you get Q. Isn't it? Oh, sorry, here you have to write the premise. It is the second premise, and this step you have to write it down. Okay, in the third step, here you have to write it is a premise. Premise 4. Okay, it is premise 4. And third step, you have to write this. Then fourth step, you have premise 1 as R implies not Q, and that is premise 1. And fifth step, I'm going to take the third premise, S implies not Q, and that is premise 3. And in the sixth step, I'm going to apply the rule of proof by cases here. To step 4 and 5, there is a rule called the rule of proof by cases, which we had studied earlier. And when we apply, this is of the form, if R implies not Q and S implies not Q, then we can say that R or S implies not Q. If R implies not Q and S implies not Q, then we can write R or S implies not Q. Any one of them implies not Q. So this is called proof by cases. Then in the seventh step, we can write taking the premise 2. Premise 2, it is R or S. So in the eighth step, we have P implies not Q and P form. So here we can apply which rule? Which rule can you apply here? You get not Q, and that is from 6 and 7 and modus ponens. P implies not Q and P, you get not Q. Okay, then in ninth step, we have, in third step we have Q, and in eighth step we have not Q. So from there we can write Q and not Q. And this is from step 3 and 8 and rule of conjunction. Rule of conjunction, again, which we had studied earlier, rule of conjunction. Rule of conjunction says that if two variables are there, then we can take the conjunction of these two. So here we have Q, here you have not Q. When we take Q and not Q, this is the ninth step. The 10th step, you will go to Q and not Q. Q and not Q is F. So in the 10th step, you will get false. Okay, your 10th step is F. And there you can write from rule 9, that is Q and not Q means the step 9 and rule of and complement law. Q and not Q gives F is complement law, which we had studied earlier. Complement law. Complement law, which we had studied earlier. Okay, so thus we had reached a conclusion. Q and not Q means Q and not Q implies F. Okay, so 10th step you will be getting F. So thus you have reached a contradiction, and so below that you can write, thus a contradiction has been reached. Below this, after the 10th step you can write, thus a contradiction has been reached, and the additional premise P is false. The additional premise P is false, which means that, which implies that not P is true. Okay, so the question says that we have to prove not P, whether it is true or false, and here we have proved that not P is true. Since P is false, not P is true. Okay. Is it clear? Is it clear to you? Any doubts? If you have any doubt, just write it down. Go through the rules and find out what is done. Okay. And if you don't understand what is done, then come to me. I will clear your doubts. Okay. Is it clear? Okay. Now, see your attendance. See your attendance.
1,
2,
3. 3
4.
absent.
5.
6,
7,
8. 8 absent.
9.
9.
10,
11.
12,
13,
14.
15,
16.
17,
Ashwin absent.
17,
18.
18,
19,
20,
21.
22,
23.
24. Number 24 absent.
25,
26.
27 absent. 28 absent. 29.
29. 30. 31.
32,
33,
30.
35,
36.
37,
38,
39. 39 absent. Next. 40.
41,
42. 43.
44,
45.
46,
47.
48,
49,
50,
51 absent. 52.
52,
53,
Next. Okay, 52 present. 53.
53,
54,
55,
56,
57,
58.
59 absent.
60,
61, 62,
63.
Okay, absent is number 3, number 8,
Miss present, ma'am.
number 6,
8%.
number 8. Gokul.
Yes, ma'am. Net take.
Okay. 8 present. Then number 16. Then number 24. Number 27, 28. Then 39, 40. 51. 59. Absentees. Okay, Ashwin. Ashwin present. Okay, thank you.